Good evening, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court Show at our new time, Mondays, 8 p.m. We got a good one for you today. We're going to talk just a smidgen about the Olympics, a smidgen about free agency, and then we're going to get into the meat of the show, which is roster construction. I got Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises with me. I got UncleFOOlio from the Controversy, and each of us are going to give you our 15-man roster, if we had to construct it for the Knicks for next season. As Sim could say, it's going to be dope. Definitely stay tuned for that. Shout out Sim, for all he does for the channel, the MBK fam, putting together the draft show in Atlantic City this Thursday. If you haven't got your tickets, please do so. It's not too late. It's going to be popping. That's your VIP entry from 5 to 8 p.m. Free buffet, free beer, and an opportunity just to kind of chill with us. We see your names on the screen, but just to have the opportunity to talk to you all in person would be great. It's going to be a live podcast. There's going to be a lot of Knick news. There's going to be a lot of NBA news related to the Knicks. So you definitely want to be there when that pops off so that you can give us your take. You'll be able to come up to the mic. This is the first of many outings. When we say MBK fam, with the emphasis on fam, and you're a part of it. So this is our first outing. There'll definitely be more. Stay tuned. We got you covered for all your Knick content, and we got you covered for all of your community connection content, right? Community connections, we got you covered. Anyway, let's get right into it. I want to bring Tony Crow on. Josh, how you guys doing today?
What's happening, Queen? Salute. What's going on?
Thank you for having me back.
Oh, definitely. Just want to shout you guys out. Tony, it doesn't matter who's first, but just appreciate, your demeanor. I appreciate you welcoming me to the MBK fam. Just appreciate, your takes. And the same thing with Josh. Josh, I know they give you a hard time. Keep being you. Keep doing what you do. I actually agree with most of your takes, so I don't know why you're getting all the heat. But welcome. Welcome to the show. I'm going to start out a little bit. Just quickly, the Olympic team lost 2 exhibition games. They lost to France. Just your quick take on that, and if there's any solution, if you think there is a problem in the first place. We start with you, Josh.
So, Queen, thanks for having me. Tone, always good to see you again. Wow, the Olympic team, they've definitely been disappointing so far. But I think the biggest problem with the team right now is chemistry. They just lack chemistry, camaraderie. And I think that'll come with time. And they got to get out of it real quick because, these Olympics can be over in a second. Right. So I think they have too much talent, despite people criticizing, us not sending our best players over there. I think they have too much talent to be playing this way. And I think they'll eventually snap out of it. They got Kevin Durant, who's a top 3 player in the world right now, as the leader of the team. So, you pair him together with Damian Lillard and a bunch of other players that are all-stars, frankly, in the NBA. There's no reason why this team should be doing poorly. So I really expect them to snap out of it and start winning some games. I hope to bring back the gold.
Okay. Tone, any I know we talked about this earlier.
We did, but I'll just reiterate. I think chemistry does have a part to do with it, but to me, I think it's about someone stepping up and defining his role as the leader of the team. I'm seeing too much sharing and caring, and no one stepping up and saying, "Hey, this is my team. Follow my lead. I'll take the lead. When I give you the ball, that's for you to score." And to me, it should be Kevin Durant, but it doesn't even have to be him. Like it could be almost any one of these guys, but someone has to take charge and say, "Hey, let's get this ball rolling and follow my lead." Nobody's being a leader, so I think that's the main issue: leadership on the court.
I do agree with that. That there's been a lot of like overpassing and what have you. But do you think, like, I'm of the mindset that I think that they'll always be at a disadvantage because they're putting, a team together for, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks before they play. A lot of these international guys play, I think, a little more often together than we do. And so in that case, if you're not playing together a lot and you're not sending the best of the best, I think you're going to always be it's going to be a challenge. I don't think we're at the point where we could just show up anymore and medal. So I'm not quite sure what the solution is. And I know we talked about, or at least I was thinking about, do you want to have contracts for these guys where you're paying them and they have to commit, to playing, and you can always cut them and put somebody in their place, but they still get money, like something. But that'll just get you the commitment for the most part. But in terms of chemistry, it doesn't really help. You still got to practice. You still got to figure out how do these guys play together. Any other solutions before?
I mean, again, I can reiterate the same thing about maybe not focusing on just NBA players, because I don't think I think we can win with a mixture of some college guys, some NBA guys. I'll go as far as saying some retired guys can still play and probably play on the Olympics. But I think that disadvantage will always be there. But if I go back to that leadership role, if someone is there in a leadership role, I think that nips everything else in the butt. I think I'd rather have a problem of everybody trying to be the leader and being somewhat selfish than them overpassing and overplaying team ball. Because I honestly think that's the problem. They're trying to play like they have chemistry, like they've been playing together for a long period of time, and no one's just stepping up and saying, hey, it's an easy game. Durant's always talking about he just want to ball. This is the time for you to just ball. You know what I mean? But it is what it is at this point.
I also want to add that, a lot of people say that, well, maybe this team has too many alphas on it. But quite frankly, if you look back the past 30 years, the Olympic team has been nothing but alphas. Did we send our best players over there, or we send all-star caliber talent over there, whatever country we're playing basketball in? So that's always been the case, and we brought home the gold before. So I don't think it's the fact that we have too many alphas. I just think that right now they're just going through a little rut where they can't, play together. They're still figuring each other out. And I think it'll improve. These guys are too talented for it not to improve. So, and one of the best coaches in the world is with the team right now in Pop. So, we'll see what happens. I think this team will turn it around.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think there's a leader of the team, or do you think there's someone on the team that has stepped up in that leadership role? Because in the past teams, you knew who the leader was. You know what I mean? And everybody else just kind of fell in line.
So I think, Kevin Durant is the leader of the team. I think he's the best player on the team right now. But I do kind of see where you're going with that. I do think the team is missing like a veteran who's been, at 3 Olympic games before. That's been around. Probably not the best player on the team, but it's been around, kind of the old guy on the block, similar to what the Dream Team had in Larry Bird in his last season. So I think the team could use that maybe to help kind of organize the locker room a little bit better. But again, I just think that this team is talented enough to compete. No question.
I think they're talented enough to compete. Would you be surprised if they didn't win gold?
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win. I'll be surprised if they don't win a medal.
Right.
Going home without a medal, that can't happen at all. Gold. The world is definitely getting better. The other teams out there, like you said, may have been playing together for a longer period of time and international play and things of that nature. And their team's a little bit more defined. They have roles, sharpshooters and defense first guys and things of that nature. But still, this team is way more talented in the field, way more, in my opinion. So I think they'll be okay.
The only thing is that you can't really play your way into it. Like you can't even. It's a short schedule, you know. So you kind of, it's not like an NBA season. You have a new team; they can play their way into chemistry because there's enough games to do so. They have to turn this around really quick, or they don't even make the medal round.
Two losses could basically make you not eligible for gold. Depending on the two losses, but two losses could knock you out of the gold conversation. I wouldn't be surprised knowing or seeing the three losses that they suffered already. But prior to those three losses, absolutely. Like, I'm surprised right now that they haven't. I mean, it feels like they haven't taken it serious, but I don't want to say that, like, because if that's what it is, don't go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'm sure there's guys out there that wanted to be there that didn't get invited, that would have taken it with more of a heart on their sleeve type attitude. Russell Westbrook, right? The way he plays night in and night out, like, that's a guy that you want to represent your country. Because at the very least, if we lose, he gave it his all.
Right.
And it don't feel like these guys have given it their all. And it's disappointing as of right now. And I think I'm gonna be one of those guys that ridicules them if they don't win gold, because I was there when it happened before, and I didn't like the ridicule. Namely, my guy Melo. I think he performed. So, now I'm ready to give it to some guys if they don't win.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, let me just shout out the chat before we move on. Shout out to Kerry Cox, Marvin Daniels, Big Drake, Chris Willard. What's up, Chris? Robert McFall, Justin L. Kevin Bergen, appreciate you. Eddie Ray, Sam, I think they are missing some grit. They always have a target on their back, so every team is coming with grit and fire. That is true. You're going to get their best effort from any team, whether they talented or not. They're going to give you their best effort. Nobody is sleeping on Team USA. Yeah. All right. Eddie C., salute. All right. Let's just move quickly to free agency. I just have a general question. I know you guys, when you talk about your roster construction, you may get into this even more, but just what approach would you like New York to take in free agency? Do you want them to be aggressive? Do you want them to kind of save their money for the class of 2022? Do you want them to, what approach would you like the Knicks to take in free agency? And I guess when we see your roster, we'll know for sure what approach you're talking about. You give us a quick preview of what approach you think the Knicks should take in free agency. Tony, I'll start with you.
Well, let me start off by saying I had numerous options for the upcoming segment. And all of them.
Should we just save it then?
No. I'm giving
sure?
a general statement to answer. And basically, I really, it's as simple as just wanting to improve. I can go a bunch of different ways. Shooting for the stars, a steady improvement. That as long as improvement is in the keyword, one of the keywords in what we do,
right?
That's all that matters to me. You know what I mean? Improving position by position, improving talent, like, as long as it's improvement, right, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Josh?
If y'all know me, y'all know I want the Knicks to be aggressive. I want them to be aggressive. I don't want them to sit on their hands. Listen, you have the money, you have, the cap space, you have the city, you have the team that, is starting to build something. You have assets. Use them. You can't just continue to sit on your hands while other teams around the league are getting better. We've just seen today Memphis traded. They took on some cap space in order to get the number 10 pick in the draft. So other teams are making moves out there, and you just cannot sleep on these other teams thinking that our front office and our team is much smarter than everyone else, particularly in the Eastern Conference where you have the Daryl Moreys and you have the Pat Rileys. Those front offices are always going to be aggressive out there. So I want this team to be aggressive, still maintain some sort of flexibility moving forward, and keeping some of those draft picks, but at the same time, go out and land a big fish.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Go ahead, Tom.
I just wanted to comment on that trade, because I don't think, like, granted, they got that number 10 pick, and that was one of my initial options in the upcoming segment. I had to modify it once I seen that trade going down. But I don't think it was about the 10th pick. I really think it was about those two contracts that they took on. I think Steven Adams is, if not an upgrade, a parallel move, but maybe a better fit. They needed some kind of grit and protection on that team. A muscle guy, and Steven Adams is that. He's still a rim runner, even though he doesn't play above the rim. So I think that is going to be a good fit next to Ja. And then the Bledsoe, you gotta back up for a year where you could move that contract, or it's not guaranteed actually. So you can move on from it. So I just wanted to point that out. That I think it was more than just a move for that 10th pick. I think the 10th pick is kind of a bonus in that situation, as opposed to, had we done the move, it would have been based on the 10th pick, and Bledsoe, in my opinion, being the bonus, if you will.
Right. I mean, I think what I want the Knicks to do, my approach to free agency, similar to you, Tone, I need to see improvement. I think the Knicks are in a tough spot because 6 of the 10 players who are in our rotation are not signed. So it's kind of hard to, not impossible, but it's going to be a challenge to build on something when those players are not here. So basically, you got to rebuild. Pretty much you have to rebuild the roster and improve from last year with different players. So the challenge is there. I think it can be done. I think when you look at all of our rosters, I haven't really seen you guys' complete roster, but I'm pretty sure when we look at all 3 of them, it's going to be about, improvement. I'll talk more about this later. And I talked about this before, Randall's performance in the playoffs gave me pause. If I had to put money on it, I would put money on that he will improve. But I'm not really willing right now to trade assets to bring in somebody to play with him, because I don't really know who he is just yet in the playoffs. I know who he is in the regular season. I really need to see it one more year. So I do want the Knicks to stay, 4 through 8. And if by some chance, that team is able to move into the top 3, I'm happy. But I'm not there yet in terms of trading for a big fish, because I'm just not sure we even got one yet. That's how much pause Randall's performance gave me for that. And just lastly, in terms of the draft, would you trade up in this draft? Or do you think the Knicks should stick with number 19 and 21? Like, do you see much separation between whoever you would trade up for and whoever you would pick at 19 and 21?
I think that's a really good question. I think if we're talking top 5, top 6 or 7, I think then you definitely have to at least consider that. But if the Knicks front office doesn't view 1 through 7, having a pick there that's going to be lights out, knockout, then you stay where you're at and you try to go get a big fish some other how, or you stay put and you draft what you have at 19 and 21. If it's there, definitely if they feel like it's there, go get it. But if it's not, then at that point you stay put.
I mean, my initial option again was trading for Bledsoe and getting that 10th pick and maybe giving up 21. So in a sense, that would have been moving up. So if we could move up and not just take on a contract, but take on a contract that is at a position of need for us. If it's some way, doing that, I would definitely do it. And if there's a target, a guy that I'm targeting, I definitely consider moving up.
Yeah. Let me answer this question. There's a comment in the chat I want to get to. I want to stay at 19 and 21. I mean, I think whoever in this draft, I don't really see clear cut, difference other than maybe the top 3, 4, 5, 6, as Josh said, maybe 7 players. Whoever you move up for to get at 13, are you really sure? I mean, we cannot be sure, but are you confident that that player is going to be that much better than whoever you picked at 19 and 21? I just don't see that much separation between these players. So my preference would be for the Knicks to stand pat, pick at 19 and 21, unless you can get into the top 7, maybe the top 10. Other than that, I would prefer that they stay put. But shout out to Justin Hernandez, who said, why is it that the Knicks have to make a move because others are making move?
I'll answer that.
Wait, let me just finish it.
Okay.
If it's not there, then just take your time. Listen, you can lose ground standing. You can lose ground standing still. I don't think the Knicks are making moves because everybody else is making moves. I think the Knicks are making moves because they want to be competitive, that they see their window of opportunity and they want to take advantage of it. Personally, if the Knicks could possibly be in the play-in tournament if they don't sign the right the right players. So go ahead, Josh.
Well, I just want to say, it kills me when Knicks fans have this mentality. During the whole season, everyone's talking about we don't have enough talent. We don't have enough talent. Now we're at a point right now where we have a lot of assets and we can be able to go get some talent. And everyone wants to have cold feet all of a sudden. This is the same people that were criticizing signing Derrick Rose because we thought Derrick Rose was going to take minutes away from Quickly. Like, what are we really saying here? I'm not saying go out and trade the whole farm. And as I'm gonna get into my trade, what I want to do with the roster in a second. I'm not saying you go trade the whole farm, but you got to be able to balance. You can't just sit on your hands and every season wait for the next free agent class and then wait for the next free agent class again. The Knicks have traditionally not been a team that's been able to go out and go get a superstar player. They have never been that team. So you got to at some point make moves and put yourself out there and make yourself competitive to win championships. At some point, you have to do that. And I'm ready to, I don't know about y'all, but 50 years is long enough. So
no doubt about it. I mean, I agree. I think at some point you have to, and I've said this before, you got to stick your flag in the sand and say, we are going to build here. It doesn't come around often. The Knicks are in a sweet spot. Young players, cap space, draft capital, all-star or NBA player who, even though I have concerns about his playoff performance, if you asked me to put my money on it, I'm betting on Randall. I would bet on him that he's going to be better next the next playoff series and this season coming up as well. So, you can't keep you can miss an opportunity and you can set your organization back a few years. And then the next thing you know, we're back to this, wherever we were, trying to get back to this point again. So I think it's so important, and I'm sure Knicks front office understands this. Take advantage of your opportunity, to just kind of move out of that. Stop waiting for young people to pop because they might not. There's no guarantee that any of these young players on this roster are going to become all-star or NBA caliber players. So you're talking about building around the young people. How do you know? And even if they do pop, you in the same position you are now. You got to go out and put other players around them. The process is the same, whether you're going to deal with Randall, who popped, or you're going to wait for RJ to pop. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to have to put a team around them. So I don't think the Knicks are rushing, quite frankly. I think they're I don't know. I'm not in the front office, but I think they're doing their due diligence, and I do think they're taking the right approach about let's take advantage of this opportunity and let's build a championship contending team sooner than later. What's your window, guys, to win a championship? I'm saying 6 because I'm using Randall's window. So I'm saying 6 years. Thinking, I don't know. I mean, to get into to win the chip, not to get into championship contention. You can get into become a championship contender
tomorrow
by next season, right? Depending on how aggressive you want to be. But I think there has to be some gelling and going through. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how much the Lakers went through. Right, 2 years, bam, done. But what's your window for the Knicks to win a championship?
Me? Okay, I'll start.
Are we basing this off of our
rosters? Maybe
yeah.
should we wait? Yeah, off of your right? Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it's going to be within the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
3 to 4 years. I want the Knicks to win a championship within the next 3 to 4 years. Of course, you can't really predict championships. Right. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed in the NBA at all. Brooklyn went out and they got their big 3, and the Lakers it was supposed to be Brooklyn versus LA in the finals, and those teams got knocked out the first and second round. Correct. So nothing is guaranteed in this league. Injuries happen. We don't want that to happen to anyone, but unfortunately, that's a reality of the NBA and a reality of the league. So my position has always been to put the Knicks in a position to be the last 4 teams standing. At that point, anything can happen. But for me, with the moves that I want to make, I'm thinking 3 to 4 years in Randall's prime and with the other big fish that I want to go get.
Okay. All right. Tony?
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I'm looking at my upcoming roster, and I'm a little disappointed. I feel like I might have should have went a different route. I'm gonna stand on what my team, and it definitely fits into that 6-year window that you mentioned, because things are gonna have to fall into place, and with my particular roster that I'm showing tonight, there's room for growth throughout. Every player is still, their trajectory is still up. So
okay.
But it will take some time. I'll go with 4 to 6 years.
How old is Tom Thibodeau, by the way?
Then it's 2 years. If you go by Tom, if we go by Tom Thibodeau is 64. He got like a 3-year window.
I mean, no, you could coach. You could coach till you 80.
That's true. But look, you see how hard he coached. He's not gonna make it. He's not gonna make it. Shout out to Chris Willard, who has been a panelist on the show. She said 3 years. Wow. And Craig McQueen, you have to be patient. How much patient can we be? I mean, I think we've been very patient,
50 years, guys. 50 years.
I will say this. This is gonna be the hardest season for, I don't know about the organization, but for the fans to be patient, because, like I keep saying, we skipped some steps this past year. I think 100. I mean, think about what everyone's expectation was. It's not a person that could tell me their expectation coming into last season was 4th seed, or they expected that. I think every one of us would have been happy getting into the play-in and making it in from the play-in. I think everybody would have been happy with a 6th or 7th seed and not 5th or 6th seed and not having home court advantage. It still would have been a success. So right there, that's why I say we skipped 2 steps.
But I agree that we exceeded expectations. But to say skip steps for me, and I've heard this a lot, is, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of says there's certain steps you have to take to win a championship, and the Knicks are not taking those steps.
No. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it. All right, let me give further content. When I say skip steps, is expectation now is 4th seed or better, whether it's fair or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we don't have that luxury, or at least, I mean, the rational fan will give the luxury, but overall, we don't have that luxury to come in at the 5th seed or 6th seed. We don't have that luxury.
I think we do.
I mean, personally, I agree. Overall, with the fans, I don't think so. We don't have the luxury to get into the play-in tournament and fight to get into the playoffs.
That's a bit, yeah. No, that's a bit low.
But that's what I mean when I say we skip steps. Had we started at the play-in and made the playoffs, now we have 2 more. You know, now we could try to get avoid the play-in. If we started at avoiding the play-in and not having home court advantage, we have an option to try to get to home court advantage. Now, for us to exceed from last year, it's 3rd seed, you know, or even saying equivalent at the 4th seed, but getting past that first round. That's what when I say skip a step, that's what I mean.
Right.
I'm not talking about like cheating, skipping a step.
Right.
Like by all means, we did not cheat.
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, to me, it's not even about the 4th seed because that was just arbitrary, right? Between Atlanta, Miami, the Knicks, it was arbitrary, you know, who got the 4th, 5th, 6th. To me, there's the championship tier contenders, and right now it's just 3 for now, could change next season. Then there's that second tier of teams, and there's a lot of teams in that second tier, 4 through 8. Then there's the aspirationals, right? The 9th and 10th seed that's aspiring to get into the playoffs. And then there's the non-playoff teams. I see the Knicks in that 4 to 8 seed, depending on what they do. I see them in that second tier, right below the championship contenders, with a lot of other teams. I even put Indiana in there, who I think was in the play-in, but I think that they underachieved. I think they're going to be right back at it this year. So I think the Knicks are in that second tier, but depending on what they do or don't do in this offseason, and depending on whether that team is able to come together and form some chemistry, not with Josh roster, but it's possible that, you know, they could be in the play-in team. They could underperform, you know. Yeah, go ahead.
2 comments. I think they're actually in the 3rd tier. And
the 9th, the aspirationals, the 9th, 10th.
Yes, because we only have 6 players signed.
Oh, okay. We don't want to say that, right?
We don't even like we're doing our hypothetical rosters, but we have no idea what the roster is going to be.
Gotcha.
So even if let's say we just ran it back, you know, I think we're not guaranteed 4th seed. You know what I mean?
Oh no, not with these six players. No.
No. I mean, if we brought the entire, like, we signed everybody
and brought them back, right?
Yeah, I don't think we're guaranteed 4th seed. So like we still have some work to do in that aspect. I forgot my other point. I'll remember and I'll get back to you.
All right. Okay. Cool. One last question before we get into roster construction. I know in roster construction, you guys are going to talk about who you would pick in the draft, so you don't have to get into that. But do you have one sleeper pick, either in a late 1st round, 2nd round, that nobody's really talking about or connecting to the Knicks that you really like?
I do. In the 2nd round, kid they call Bones.
Bones Highland.
I've been watching a lot of his highlights, and hearing a lot of the quickly comparisons. But I think I haven't looked at measurables or anything, but I think he's taller. I think he's a little bit more ready than I would have thought IQ was coming into last year. So if and I see him mocked in the 2nd round for the most part. So if we could snatch that kid up, yeah, I like that. I definitely like that kid.
I second what Tone is saying. I honestly don't think Bones is going to get to the 2nd round. I think he's going to be picked in the 1st round. I think we might have a really good chance to get him. I think he is a scorer. He is just a baller that can go out and flat out score the ball. And I think he's going to be a really, really good player in this league for a while, for a really, really long time. My comparison to him, if I had to pick a player in the league that I would compare, he's not as big as this player, but I can't remember his name. He just left me. New Orleans, the kid from New Orleans. I can't remember his name.
He's on the team now?
Yes, the kid from New Orleans. So I can't remember his name.
Alexander?
No, the forward, the wing.
Ingram?
Yes, Ingram. A baller who can just go out and score. Just can go out and score the rock. He can shoot it. He can get to the basket. He can finish with both hands. To me, that's Bones Highland. That's what I see in him. He's a little bit smaller. He's not gonna because I have a post-up game, that much of a post-up game, but he can flat out. He's a game changer in my opinion.
Right. Oh, there's a few comments in the chat I want to comment on. I like Bassie at 32. A center that can rebound, that can run the floor, that could. He's good in transition as well. He blocks shots. He played at Western Kentucky, so some people say, it was lower competition. But I think what he does translate, and which is why I don't really want to take a big in the first round, really want to get those guards and those wings because that pool is so robust in my opinion, and that you can still get a backup center in the second round. I really like this kid. I like his height. I like his offensive rebounding. I think he would be in the rotation if we got him. So it would be him, and the other one would be B.J. Boston. I know everybody is down on him. He didn't play well this season out of Kentucky. Some of it may have been even confidence. Like one game he's looking great. The next game looked like he don't even belong there. But I just think with this developmental staff, I think that he would be okay. So he would be a deep sleeper for me.
I'll take Boston, especially if I don't pick any guards, more point guards earlier. If I concentrate on wings in the earlier part, I would consider him. And I like Bassie too, and I agree. You can get the same out of Bassie that you would potentially risk picking at somebody at 19 or 21.
Right. I forget who said it. I lost it. But basically, the person was saying that if the Knicks ran back that same team and got the 6th or 7th seed, that they wouldn't see it as a regression. That a lot of things fell in place for the Knicks to get that that 4th seed. And Frank Corona Jr., shout out to you. Just because you are patient and build organically doesn't guarantee success. Look at the Kings. They have Fox and still in the lottery every year, no doubt. No doubt. Just because, there's many ways to build your roster and to build your team to win a championship. There's many ways to do it. Everybody's saying you got to do it organically. You got to do it with your own draft pick. It's not true. There's many ways to do it. And you could try to build through the draft and it doesn't work. And the Kings is a perfect example. They've been trying to build through the draft for a long time and have not been able to get any traction. Right? All right. Anything else before we move into the meat of the show?
No, I'm ready.
All right, everybody take a deep breath. It's about to go down. I just want to so basically I asked Josh and Tony to construct they could have went to just 10, but I think most of us did the entire roster, 15-man roster with the salary cap was $112 million. You could go over the cap, if you wanted to, and go into luxury luxury, you know what I mean, past the luxury threshold. Luxury tax. Yes, thank you for that. But in our roster, we included those we wanted to keep. That's on this roster right now. Trades, free agent signings, draft picks. So the teams that each of us constructed a different team, obviously, with a mix of those players. I just want to say this, though, to the chat and the viewers. If you had an opportunity to go to a roster simulation app, I use Fanspo. I think most of us use fanspo.com. They're not sponsoring this video, but it's a different when you're having that GM hat on and you're trying to construct a team within the constraints of a salary cap. Does this player fit? How much money we're going to give this player? How many years we're going to give this player? It's much different than just sitting around, and saying, oh, I like this player, put him on the team. I had a really hard time. I had to make some tough decisions to try to fill out the roster. And this is what front offices go through. So if you get an opportunity, pull up. I know a lot of viewers may do the trade simulator, but if you can find a roster simulator, try to construct the roster for the Knicks in that $112 million salary cap with the available free agents. Everybody is not available. With those that are available in free agency, trades, or whatever, it's not easy. So just doing this gave me a little more insight into, what the GMs, and I'm sure they got other factors as well. So I'm going to start with Tony because I don't want to hit him too hard with Josh. So we're going to start with Tony. We're going to ease into this, right? But Tony, if you could just start with just your philosophy on how you went about constructing this team before we show your roster in chat. Definitely comment. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I agree. Matter of fact, maybe you guys could give you could pick a choice out of the three of our rosters as far as you may not like any one of them, but if you had to pick one, let's see how it goes.
Did you hear that, chat? Which way we're gonna reveal our roster, and you pick which way you would go. Right? Hashtag Josh roster, hashtag Steph or Queen's roster, hashtag Tony roster. Which one you kind of feel in and resonating with?
All right. Well, that being said, like I said earlier, it's to me it's just about improving. I actually did probably 6 rosters once you gave me that site. That site is awesome, and it isn't an ad, but it was a lot of fun for me. I think I was up for 3-4 hours actually messing around with that thing. So I had a few options, but I went with. I'm not telling you what I went with yet, but my objective was basically how can we at least stay parallel to last season. How can we get better as far as the roster, because it's all gonna rely on chemistry. And, back to that word, that's gonna be the main thing that has to take place. But I just wanted to get young and better, and that was the focal point of how I made my decisions. I'm sure you guys will have some questions once it's revealed, and I'll give you as much insight as to what I was thinking for each move I decided to make. So yeah, that's how I went about it. Steph, you're muted.
Sorry about that. We'll pull up the first slide for your team.
All right. So what did I do here? It looks like I made a trade with the Golden State Warriors where I took on the contract of Andre Wiggins. I received the 14th pick from them, gave them our 19th pick. So I'm gonna start with what I did there and why I did it. And why the Warriors may do it. Wiggins, small forward, position of need. Still a young guy, even though he's been in the league 8 years. He's a guy who has grown over those 8 years. It's not like he's the same guy that he was in his rookie year. He's shown consistent growth year by year. So part of my logic in doing that was, and you're gonna see this as a theme throughout me going through the roster, is the same thing we did with Randall, a guy that was in the league a couple years, improved year after year, always, his trajectory is still up. Hasn't reached his prime yet. I don't know if his contract is necessarily considered like a reasonable contract in comparison with Randall's and maybe some other guys, but took a chance, moved up in the draft, got that 14th pick. Why would the Warriors do it? Number one, this immediately gets them out of luxury tax. They're still over the cap, but they're not in the luxury tax, and takes them out of the repeater tax, which ends up saving them. I believe the number is close to 60, like double whatever Wiggins' contract is. So 62 million, what they would have to pay in that luxury tax. It also lowers the rookie scale of the player, moving down from 14 to 19. Lottery picks are guaranteed a certain rookie scale salary. As you go lower in the draft, that scale drops. So those are the two main reasons that I think the Warriors would do it, or possibly would do it. It also gives them a $31 million trade exception. So the same way, people would say that they would use Wiggins in a trade to improve their team, Joe F. Bradley Beal, blah, 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 blah. They could still use that trade exception as opposed to the trading the player who may not have been on the wish list of the team they're trading with. I also went ahead and traded for Colin Sexton. We all heard the rumors about that. So I did, what the rumor was, which was, actually, I think I changed this up a little bit because I believe I kept the 21 pick. I ended up giving them Dallas's 23 first round pick, which is like partially guaranteed or guaranteed with restrictions, whatever the case. They go ahead and gave them Obi, gave them Kevin Knox, and picked up Colin Sexton. I like Colin Sexton, 22 years old. I won't say 25 points last year. I'll say 20 points over his career. So he's shown that it's not a fluke. The boy can put the ball in the basket. Still room for improvement. Still growing as a player. Defense guy. I think he fits right along in. I think that is it for that particular slide. So we kept 21. We moved up to 14. We got rid of Obi. We got rid of Kevin Knox. And we picked up Sexton, and we picked up Andrew Wiggins, two positions of need.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments on that portion?
I just want to say that it seems like 3-team trades are a common theme here because I have a 3-team trade as well. Also, Wiggins. I've been linking the Knicks with Wiggins for a very, very long time. I don't have Wiggins in my trade proposal. As far as coming to the Knicks, I do have him in there, but I don't have him in my particular trade proposal coming back to us. But I have linked Wiggins in that contract with the Knicks going back to last season. And with Golden State. I think Golden State can be a really good trade partner for us moving forward. So I like it.
Yeah. And I like the point you made that you can include Wiggins in a trade if a superstar comes up, he has value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Move to the next slide.
All right. Some free agent signing. Or should I talk about the draft picks, or is that another slide?
That's the next slide.
Okay, awesome. So free agent signings, I went with Rashad Holmes. I am not gonna lie, he wasn't on my radar until you mentioned him to me off camera the other day, Steph.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew who he was. I remember games he played against the Knicks, but he wasn't really on my radar. I'm not sure what his actual price range is. I like that app that we use because it gives you a trajectory of his price range, and so I kind of based it off of that. And gave him a 3-year, $30 million contract. The next guy I went with was Kelly Oubre, another guy who fits that bill of young, developing, hasn't reached his prime. All those things I mentioned about Randall, I mentioned about Sexton, and et cetera, et cetera. Same contract, 3 years, 30 million.
If you could get him for 10 million, I'm down for that.
And again, I use the app's trajectory. You know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of times, people want max and they want this and that, but you don't know what they're gonna get until the market dictates it. And I think he's been on record as saying he wants to be in New York. I've seen him do some interviews with New York medias, which was, kind of out of the box. I think he's an out of the box kind of guy anyway. But I think he's the perfect fit for us. Whether that's on the bench or starting, I think he could play a valuable role. Also young. Devontae Graham. This one came out of nowhere for me. But I like this kid. I've liked him since college. Excuse me. Talented shooter. That's one of the areas of need. He could play off ball, on ball. He showed that he could play the point guard position if need be, prior to the metal ball. Getting on that roster. I think he had his breakout season also prior to LaMelo getting on that roster. But he's still a valuable guy, young guy. Shouldn't cost that much. 3 years, 21 million, 7 million a year is still a pay increase. I think he lost. I know he lost the starting spot, but I think he lost rotation time as the season went on as well. So I want to take advantage of that and maybe get him at a cheaper contract. And then the man that I think everybody has on this list, Carmelo Anthony, mid-level exception. 2 years, 13 million. Hopefully he's still willing to come back. Maybe in my particular scenario, it may be the least likely because I don't know where we are as far as immediate contention with this roster. But I think this roster, so far from what I mentioned, puts us at least parallel with last year's team. But I can argue that it's a better overall roster, defensively, offensively, younger guys, more upside, haven't reached their prime, all that stuff. It kind of lacks some veteran leadership. That may be one area of improvement. But he's not on the list here, but we can go over the cap and we can still bring back a Derrick Rose in this situation. And I think this roster leaves me with two to 5 million in cap space. So there's still room for improvement. But those are my free agent signings.
All right.
And 14th pick, lottery pick. I think personally, my first choice would be Moody if he slides, if he's available there. But I would not be mad again if he's there and if he's available with Chris Duarte, who I think could come in and contribute immediately. No question about it. His skill is going to translate, which is shooting. Moses Moody, he may take some more time to develop, but I think feeling wise, it's way higher. So either one of those two guys, I would take with that 14th pick. I traded both my picks, right? I traded.
Yeah.
So
the 19 went to Golden State.
Golden State. So with my 32nd pick, excuse me, while I pull that up real quick. I was going with. I'm sorry. Bones. How'd I forget? I already mentioned them earlier. Bones and 53 is the other one. If he slides that far, I'll take McBride. I'll definitely take McBride, the point guard, defensive point guard. That's 12 guys, 13 guys right there, I believe.
Okay.
Not including Rose. Rose would be 14. I think that team can at least stay at that 4th seed, maybe 5th seed. I think it's a better playoffs team.
Let's pull up the roster so then you can let's pull it up and then you could talk about it as a whole.
Okay. Oh, I forgot about my point guard that we have yet to see. So starters, we got Colin Sexton, R.J. Barrett, Andrew Wiggins, Randall, Richard Robinson. It could be flipped around a little bit depending on, you might not like the 3-point shooting in that starting lineup. And I could see that argument. So it may be tweaked here or there. But overall, man, let's just talk about upgrades or improvements, because I think that's where you can see where I was going in this roster. Sexton is a 100% upgrade from our point guard situation last year. Starting point guard. He's still gonna attack. He's still gonna give you defense. He's just he's younger. He's faster. He's just a better player. I don't gotta get into the details. We know who RJ is. Wiggins, him and RJ, they're getting that practice in right now. they working on that chemistry right now.
Toronto's finest.
we're playing for Team Canada, so I'm just betting on his continuous growth, like we did with Randall. Hopefully, it doesn't take a year. Hopefully he doesn't have the year that Randall had coming in. But other than that, I think it's all upside. Mitchell Robinson, we got him for at least one more year, so let's take advantage of him. I think you could flip flop him and Holmes if need be. If Robinson's injured or whatever the case. So I'll start with Holmes again. You could flip flop him. He could start. He could come off the bench, but high energy guy, rebound guy, still developing. I think he hasn't really had the opportunity to show everything he's capable of on this team with this roster. He will be able to take on a bigger role. I'm not even gonna mention Melo because we all got some things to say about him. So bring Melo home. I'll take that. Kelly Oubre, again, same formula. Young, developing, still getting better, upwards trajectory, defense. Can improve shooting, but I think he's capable. And just from listening to some of his recent interviews, he wants an expanded role. He wants to be great. It sounds like he wants to be in New York. I love those kind of guys. I mentioned Graham already. Villadova. Our rookies, we don't necessarily have to rely on them with this roster. We could give them time to develop, which I think is important for rookies. And the only guy that's missing on there is Derrick Rose, if we decide to bring him back. If we don't, we have his bird rights, so we can sign and trade him. So if he knows where he's going, and there's somebody on that team that, maybe they're willing to part ways with, or maybe we could get a draft pick for him just so he could get the contract that he wants there, the extra year or whatever the case may be. that's also an asset, even though he's unsigned. So yeah, there you have it. That's my full roster. One of them. It's probably not my best option of the things that I thought of, but like I said, with that trade happening, it kind of messed up the one I wanted to go with, and kind of did this one on a fly instead of pulling up one of my other ones I spent more time with. But
I think from a talent perspective, it's definitely a talent upgrade. My only concern is there a playmaker there to get everybody involved, because there's a lot of offense on that team. We're not going to have that. Wouldn't be the problem anymore with that team as far as the Knicks putting points on the board. But it would just be, I would just have concerned about the playmaking and.
So, I mean, I agree. There's no quintessential point guard. I think Graham is capable. I think he showed it 2 years ago. I think Sexton is also capable with better teammates around him, which in this case he will 100% have. And then, worst case scenario, we see how we played with Randall running the offense and being that facilitator. I expect RJ to take a bigger role in that in that area as well. So I think it can be done, but I 100% understand the concern in that aspect. Because we have it, but it's gonna be by committee for the most part.
Okay. Any comments, Tony, before I get to the chat?
No.
I mean, not Tony, Josh, I meant.
No, I don't have any comments at all. One thing I do want to say, the team does lack a little bit of shooting, particularly in that starting lineup. However, I do think it's an upgrade from the team that we had last season. But another important thing that I definitely want to point out, that roster that you just put out there has a lot of turnover on it. A lot of turnover. No Rose, no Bullock, no Burks. A lot of key pieces. No Nerlens Noel. A lot of key pieces that were on the team last year are not on that particular roster that you put out there. So it is kind of an unknown how the team will perform next season with that roster. So
yeah, the chemistry, I think that's going to be an issue anyway, because we just don't have a lot of players. I should put it that way, if we don't sign some of those players from last year, chemistry can definitely be an issue. I think it'll take some time for the team to gel. What I do like about it is that there is a strong structure with Tibbs. In terms of how he wants to play, and guys really have to slot into that. So I think that will help. But as far as talent upgrade, that roster right there, no.
I probably would have to modify that starting lineup. I didn't know how it would be received putting Graham in the starting lineup, but I think that will help with the shooting aspect, because there is more shooting on the bench in that layout than in the starting unit. And if
Sexton can shoot though.
He can, but he's not
a knockdown.
Just to give it an upgrade in that starting lineup.
Right.
I think if I did flip flop those two, maybe the shooting would improve in the starting lineup. Because I'm looking at it like the ball's going to be in Sexton's hand more than Grant's. So if Graham is starting, RJ and Barrett are facilitating, he's going to get shots off of them. Where Sexton, he can create his own shot from wherever he wants.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think maybe flip-flopping that point guard starting position could help. Yeah, but I'm glad you guys were pretty receptive to it. I thought I was gonna get killed.
Listen, this is like the verses. Saying? It's all love. When they do the versus shows, it's not a lot of cards. It's all love.
Celebration. What's the chat been saying? They not killing me either.
Yeah, a little.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, one of the comments, a few of the comments was that they didn't think those players would sign for that money. That they would probably demand more. One person said they would probably walk out the room if the Knicks
Negotiation.
presented them right, walk out of negotiations. And spacing like we brought up was an issue, and then some people had an issue with Melo, but as they will see, Melo is on. I think all of our rosters actually. So I think that was it. And then some people don't like Wiggins. I said somebody said he was soft or what have you. So
Karan's like, nah, Tony, they killing you, bro. It's all good. I gave my disclaimer in the beginning.
Right. All right, Josh, you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So first things first. Before I pull up that trade that I want to do, I'm gonna let the cat out the bag right now. I want the Knicks to go get Damian Lillard. I want them to go out and go get Damian Lillard. If he made himself available, I definitely, want the Knicks to do that. But before I get into the trade specifics and how I want to construct this team, I just want to preface everything I have to say with 3 points. First of all, in order for the Knicks to go out and go get a big fish, there's this big misconception that the Knicks need to give up the farm and trade all their future away and everything away to go get a player that makes $30, $35, $40 million. And that's simply not true. What the Knicks are going to need to do, they're going to have to involve a third team. And the reason being is because the Knicks have a lot of assets, a lot of cap space, but they don't have the players as far as quantity to make a trade happen straight up. So they're going to have to get a third team involved. For my particular trade, I'm using Golden State. Shout out to Tone. I'm using Golden State as well. I think Golden State is a perfect third team trade partner for the Knicks to go out and get Damian Lillard. But let's say if it's not Golden State, there's still other teams out there where you can be able to that third team would have to want to shed some cap. Get rid of a contract that's unfavorable to them to try to get better. And I think you got Golden State, you got Philly with Ben Simmons' contract, and you got DC. You got Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook there. They might want to shake some things up there. So that's the first thing that I want to say. It has to be a 3-team trade. The second thing that I want to talk about in regards to Damian Lillard is Portland. If Portland trades Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum's out the door too. There's no reason for Portland to want to hold on to CJ McCollum and his big contract. And I don't think CJ McCollum is going to want to stay there. These guys have played together for the last 8 years. They've been kind of selfish, saying that they're going to play with each other and, they're going to stick together and try to go out and win a championship, and it just hasn't worked. So I don't think CJ McCollum, there's no incentive for him to stay in Portland if Damian Lillard's traded. And CJ McCollum isn't the trade proposal that I do have. And the third thing that I want to say, and to just kind of bring it home a little bit, you can do both. You can go out and you can go sign a big fish, and you can also keep some assets and continue to build for the future. It doesn't have to be one for one, or either you do this or you don't do that. You can do both. That's what the good organizations do. So everyone thinks I want to go out and go trade for everyone and get rid of all the young talent in this team. That's not true. I want the Knicks to go out and get better, but at the same time, maintain some flexibility for the future and help build the young guys. So if we can pull up the trade for Damian Lillard, listen, it took me some time to come up with this, but I think it's perfect. For me, I'm not sure if you pulled it up yet, but the trade would basically be the Knicks would acquire Damian Lillard. Okay, the Knicks would acquire Damian Lillard. The only thing the Knicks will be giving up in this trade scenario is they'll give up Kevin Knox. They'll do a signing trade, either Alec Burks. They'll get rid of one of the first round picks from this year. So I said number 21. Also number 58, second round pick. Also in 2023, where they have an abundance of second round picks, they give up one of those draft picks as well. Okay. All going to Portland. Portland would also receive Andrew Wiggins, that contract from Golden State, and they will receive James Wiseman. Golden State, on the other hand, they will receive CJ McCollum, and they will receive Mitchell Robinson. Now, let me just break this thing down. Obviously, the whole purpose for the Knicks is to go out and get Damian Lillard. He's a a closer. This team has needed a closer for a very, very long time. And I feel like if you pair him up with Julius Randle, another all-star, the Knicks are in the conversation for doing some big things next year. Just point blank, plain and simple. Okay. For the Warriors, their incentive is, one, I think Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, they want to win right now. The owners just built a new arena in Golden State. And these guys are not getting any younger. They have them signed up for long terms. They want to still win championships. And I think CJ McCollum is a great piece that you can add to Golden State. A good mid-range guy who can definitely handle the rock. He can definitely shoot. To pair up with to put with Klay and Steph in that backcourt, and that is just tremendous for them. I think that gets them back up to the top of the Western Conference standings. When I first did this deal, I didn't have Mitchell Robinson in it. Because I didn't really feel a need to, but they were like, well, the Warriors are going to want a little bit more. So I was like, let's throw Mitchell Robinson to the Warriors to kind of replace what Wiseman was giving the Warriors. And I think it's this trade is absolutely possible. The Blazers, they're going to want to cut salary and start over and rebuild. The Blazers do not have a first-round pick this year. They do not have a first-round pick this year. So I think they're going to accept the draft picks that the Knicks are providing them, and they're going to start over and rebuild and start from scratch. So I think the Blazers definitely will want to do this trade. There's no reason for them to keep C.J. McCollum, and no reason, obviously, they're not going to keep Damian Lillard. So I think for all three of these teams, this trade is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And the Knicks have some leverage because they have the cap space and they have money. So definitely, this is my trade here. And if you hit the next slide, I can continue to go on with my roster.
Oh, can I comment on?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
On the trade, I actually think it's a fair trade. Especially I saw the first iteration, putting in Mitchell Robinson, and I think the point you bring up is very important. You're not making these trades in a vacuum. Teams are motivated to make these trades for a particular reason, right? Portland would be motivated because they're moving on for two of their players. They're going to want young players. They're going to want draft picks. Golden State is motivated because of their salary cap situation, and because Klay is coming back, they want to win, right? So they're going to want another established player. So you could say in a vacuum, I don't know about this, but you got to look at each team's particular situation. That's what motivates them to engage in a trade such as this. And the Knicks, if they really want to be aggressive and they're okay with Dame's short window, they would be motivated, and if they really believe Randall is that guy, they would be motivated to bring in Dame for that. So I appreciate you putting this trade together so that we can see. It's one thing to kind of like talk about, oh, this can't work, but to actually see it in front of us, that works. And I cannot wait for slide number 4. When we start talking about the team within the salary cap that you were able to build, because I think that's the other concern people have, that if we bring Dame in, we're not going to be able to build a team around him because of how much of the salary cap he takes up. So I can't wait for that.
Okay, so if we just get
Tony.
to go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So we kept Quickly and Obi in this scenario.
That's correct. That is correct.
And that's my own. Like I would love to, but I think we would have to give up one of those two to Portland as well.
Okay, let's say worst case. Let's say worst case scenario.
Well, I'm okay with that. So I just wanted to. That's my only gripe. I think they would, especially with us not giving up RJ. They're gonna want at the very least one of those two guys. But
that's fine.
Right, and that'll be fine, and that'll be fine with me as well. You can either throw Quickly in there, or you can throw one of the 2023 first-round picks in there. Get another first-round pick out there to acquire Damian Lillard. The Knicks still have a first-round pick this year, a second-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, a first-round pick the year after. We still have a ton of second-round picks in 2023. So this trade is definitely doable. And once again, Portland does not have any first-round picks. So that's their incentive for them to take this deal and to shed money off of their books. C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard take up $75 million of their cap for those guys to get bounced out in the first round every single year. So that's the incentive for Portland. And I definitely think that trade is fair for all three.
Yeah, I think there's multiple people in the chat saying that the trade is not fair. I'm not sure. Again, you have to think about why a team would be motivated to do a trade like this. So if you're Portland and you getting Wiseman, so basically you're moving off of these large contracts. You're moving off of Dame. You're moving off of McCollum, and you're rebuilding, right? You get Wiseman, who was the number 3 pick. You get Wiggins, who's still ascending, in my opinion. You get cap space so that you can do other things and bring other players onto your team. You get in draft picks, and okay, fine. If they want to OB or if they want to quickly, I mean, I think that's fine. But I think when you do a trade like this, I don't think you're not looking to get back equal value player for player.
Exactly.
Right? You're also thinking about the cap space it saves you. You're thinking about what it allows you to do to upgrade the roster. Those things go into it. So they're not looking for like a one-to-one, this what I'm getting back equal what I'm giving up. They're also thinking about the cap space, what else we can do, things of that sort. So and if I'm thinking like that, then I think it's fair.
Definitely. So if you pull up the slide with the free agents, I want to talk about the free agent moves I would make. To me, these free agent moves are low risk, high reward. First things first, Carmelo Anthony. Listen, I've been wanting Carmelo Anthony to come back to retire as a Knick for a very long time now, since the fan base kind of booed him out of town, even though he gave us his all for the few seasons that he was here and got us back to the playoffs and got us to a 54-win team before Phil Jackson came in and ruined it. And I think $8 million a year for Carmelo Anthony is not a lot for what he can bring to the table. As far as veteran leadership, he can still score. He can still knock down that three. He can be a stretch four to come out there and give Randall some time off, or you can put him at the 3. Carmelo Anthony can still play that role. He's not going to come back and be our alpha dog like he once was 10 years ago. That's not what the whole purpose of, that's not the purpose of the Knicks bringing him back. The purpose of them bringing him back is to be a presence in the locker room, to be a veteran, and to help us out in that manner. This slide doesn't say it, but I want it to be kind of a 1-for-1 deal. So we definitely sign up for next season, guaranteed money, and then that second season can either be a team or a player option, and we'll just do it that way. Second player, I know I have Korkmaz the second player, but I'm going to talk about Reggie Bullock. That's someone the Knicks have to bring back. If we're not going to bring back Alec Burks, I definitely would like to bring back Reggie Bullock. He is a shooter, kind of a shooting specialist in a way. 3 and D. He can play defense. He fits the mold of what Tom Thibodeau was trying to do. And I definitely would bring him back to keep that chemistry going between him, Randall, and RJ. I think that's a really, really big piece for the Knicks to bring back if they're not going to go out and sign a big fish small forward. I think Reggie Bullock definitely needs to come back, and I would pay him $12 million a year, guaranteed money, $36 million for the next 3 years. Taj Gibson, another piece that I think we can pay him something cheap to come back to be our center. People were saying, well, he's too old. Well, we lost Mitchell Robinson early in the season, and Taj Gibson was able to fill his role for, majority of the season. So I think bringing him back on a 5-year contract is low risk, high reward. He's a tips kind of player, and I definitely think he can fit this team. And finally, I'm going to talk about Furkan Korkmaz, who we know him well. He was in Philadelphia, and he's a shooter. 37% last season. The year before, I think it was 39 or 40% from the 3-point range. The guy can flat out shoot the basketball. And I think, a 2-for-1 contract with him, I think is really, really beneficial to us. That gives us another shooter out there who can throw out there to definitely help us, to give us some shooting, because even though we had a good percentage from 3 last year, we didn't take that many. So I think if we add guys like Korkmaz and bring Bullock back and Carmelo Anthony, along with Damian Lillard, we have a lot of shooting there that we can definitely use for next season. Any questions about that or comments?
No.
I don't have a.
I like where you went. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially bringing Bullock back. Yeah. We got similar players there as well.
Okay. Next slides. please. So these are my draft picks, and I know
that's pretty high. Wow.
Yeah, when I first heard about this kid Bones, I was like, and I watched some of his highlights. First of all, I don't think he's going to get into the second round. I think he's going to be a first round pick. I really, really like his game. He is a scorer. I think he's going to be a really, really good scorer in this league. Kind of a ISO kind of player that can go out and get you a bucket if you need one. I'm really, really high on Sean Highland from VCU. And I wanted to. So Jericho Sims not supposed to be 21. He's supposed to be 32.
Okay.
Not 21. Jericho Sims is not going to go that high. But definitely, I like Jericho Sims a lot as well. I've seen a couple of his games at Texas. The guy is around the rim 24/7. The guy can go out and rebound. Killer on the offensive glass. He definitely can get up there. Definitely has to work on his offensive game a little bit more. He's not as polished on offense as I would like. That's why I don't want to draft him at 21. I want to draft him at 32. But I think he's going to be a beast on the offensive glass for us. And if we can get him on the floor early to spell Taj Gibson, I think that we have a really, really good front court there. So, and for Cat, just so the Cat can understand, I don't want Jericho Sims at 21. I want him at 32. That's way too early for us to take Jericho Sims. He's also a rim runner. So that lob threat is there. We lose Mitch, we can get someone in Jericho Sims who can go out and catch lobs and slam it home. So those are my two draft picks. And then finally,
yes,
I want to get to my roster. Okay, so obviously with Damian Lillard, he's going to be our point guard for the next 4 to 5 years if we go out and sign him as our point guard. You got RJ at the 2, Reggie Bullock at the 3. That's something that's going to be intact there. You don't have to worry about chemistry issues. Those guys have played together for the last 2 years. So you'll have them there for at least the next 3 if we decide to sign Randall long term. And then in the front court, you got Julius Randle and Taj Gibson. I think that's a really good starting lineup. You got a guy out there who can close the game for you, who you can run plays through in Damian Lillard. You can also give the ball to Randall to bring the ball up once in a while, or get Randall down in the post a little bit more. So I definitely like that as our starting lineup. For the bench, obviously you're going to have Emmanuel Quickly there. Korkmaz, definitely a spot-up shooter off the bench. Carmelo Anthony and Obi Toppin, definitely there. I'm not sure if Frank is going to be on the bench, most likely situational. But definitely, I think that bench can definitely go out and get you some scoring. I think a player like Obi Toppin can benefit by playing with someone like Carmelo Anthony, who can help him improve his offensive game. Defensively, I don't know if that's going to help out Obi, but definitely to refine Obi Toppin's offensive game, I definitely like the fact that he can play with Carmelo Anthony and help us get better. Situational, obviously, you have Luka Vildoza, Theo Pinson, Norvell Pell. They're going to play situational. Injuries happen. Then we'll have those guys there. And then finally, our rookies, Bones Highland and Jericho Sims. Now, the slide here says that we're going to be over the cap. We're only going to be over the cap by $5 million. I thought the salary cap was 119, not 112. So I didn't take that into consideration. And listen, if we're over the cap, James Dolan can afford to pay a little bit of luxury tax. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't need to sign Kirk Korkmaz, that's someone I would take out of going after just so we can bring those numbers down a little bit. But to me, I think this roster is balanced. I think this roster definitely gets us top 4 in the Eastern Conference, no question. By adding Damian Lillard, you add a closer. And this roster, to me, this is a winning roster. I expect this roster to do some things in the Eastern Conference. And I didn't give up any the farm, like everyone says. You go out and get a player like Damian Lillard, you're going to have to give up the farm. No. This roster, to me, works. And I'm interested to hear what the chat has to say about it.
I don't think I think some of the concerns was the center position.
Right.
Starting Taj at the center and then Obi backing him up. Some people still have issues with Melo. Frederick said Mitch and Knox was enough for Dame. Oh, okay. But no, there was more than that.
There was draft picks involved in it as well.
There was more than that.
But Steph, can I just point out something?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Real quick. I mean, people are looking at this, only 2 teams involved. The whole purpose of putting a 3-team trade out there so you can give up less assets. That's the purpose of bringing in a 3rd team. that's the whole reason why I want to do this, because the Knicks, they don't have enough players on the roster to do a 1-for-1. So bringing in a third team brings the price tag a little bit lower for the Knicks as far as what they give up in the trade scenario. And I think if not for that third team with Golden State, then you start talking about giving up RJ. Then you start talking about giving up multiple first-round picks this year and years down the line. So that's the whole purpose of this particular trade. And people can agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. I do think we have a hole at center. Taj Gibson, can he be able to hold up? But Mitchell Robinson was out for majority of the season last year, and Taj Gibson knows well held it down. So I'm comfortable with that roster. I think that roster definitely takes us to the next level.
I love it. The only thing I would modify is maybe a vet minimum for Taj. I think 5 is like a little bit more than that, right? That's like
yeah. I think the vet minimum is 2.3, I believe.
Yeah, vet minimum for Taj. Maybe lowering the guy from Philly about $2 million and trying to bring in maybe like a JaVale McGee or some type of alternative center. I am concerned with Taj and his minutes. I mean, I love every minute Taj plays because he gives his all, but it was times last year where it was noticeable. It looked like he was about to drop. You know what I mean? So we would and again, if Pele, whatever, if he's gonna perform and actually give us some contributions, that works. And if the draftee, I think we're gonna be relying on that draftee a little bit with that roster. So yeah, I got the same concern as the chat as far as like a Shabak and big, maybe a JaVale. Somebody that we could get on the cheap, but had some experience. But other than that, man, I love it. That's shooting for the stars.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Pell might even start over Taj. Because again, the concern is whether or not Taj would be able to hold up. But obviously I think Taj is the better player in terms of he's smart and he's always in the right place at the right time, very savvy and in that respect. So if we kept it like that, Pell would probably start, because basically you just need him to play good position defense, rebound, block shots. You're not really asking. I mean, that might be a lot, depending on his skill level, and maybe like you said, JaVale McGee, at that center spot. I think what we didn't take into account, and what I think might happen is we would be active on the buyout market, as well. And there may be players who would want to come, and I think would want to come and play with Randall and Dame.
Yeah, Taj is that break glass in case of emergency player. You know what I mean? And I would absolutely want him preserved as much for a playoff run. So that that would be my only concern is heavy minutes for him. But yeah, I love it, man. That was great. And we could still go over the cap and re-sign Rose in that situation.
So, well, not just Rose. We can also re-sign Randall. We can, RJ's contract's not going to be for another 3 years. But when you have players on your roster like that, you can go over the cap to sign them.
Yeah. Because I mean Rose, as in like he could be on that current roster. He wasn't.
No, he wasn't. Like, I didn't have him on the current roster.
You know what I mean? But we could potentially still have him on that roster because we have his bird rights. So yeah, man, I think that's more of that chemistry coming back from last year. So I think that's beautiful.
Cool. Any other comments before I share my team? All right. Just to set it up, I was not looking to build a championship contending team for this upcoming season. My window for a championship is a little longer, maybe 5, 6. I don't have a problem with 4 or 3. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking to build off of last season, which is kind of hard in the sense that those guys are not under contract, but I'm really trying to build in the sense of getting a core established. Well, if the Knicks can finish anywhere between 4 and 8 next year, I'm happy. I feel like I need to see Randall one more year before I give up any assets to bring somebody in to play with him. And I don't care what he does in the regular season next year. He could be MVP. I'm focusing on the playoffs, right? I really need to see him. He doesn't have to be lights out, but I really need to see him perform in the playoffs. And if he's able to do that, I feel much more comfortable trading assets, young players, even RJ, depending on who the player is that we're going after to bring in to play with him. But I don't want to do that until I kind of know what we have. So that was my thinking and building this roster. Who can I bring in that's going to get us anywhere between 4 and 8? And we'll see who Randall is. And then next season, we can go big game hunting. That was my mindset when I put this roster together. The other thing was I was looking for efficient players. So to me, the wing position in this draft was pretty slim. I like what Tony did in trading for Wiggins. I didn't really think about that. Oubre, to me, wasn't a top choice. He's right at that level where he's been in the league for some time, maybe 4 years, 5 years maybe. And I'm not sure if he's ascending where he's going to improve, or if where he is right now is who he's going to be, like an inconsistent shooter type player. And this is pretty much what he is. So what I decided to do with this roster is I moved RJ to the 3, and I signed a 2 guard in free agency. So let's get it. Let's start with what's the first slide? Okay. Yes. The first thing I did was I traded for Colin Sexton. I traded Obi Toppin, the 32nd pick, the 58th pick. And if they want more than that, too bad. Now, it'll all come together with the roster. I didn't choose Colin Sexton to start on this team. I have a veteran on the team. I like Colin Sexton in the sense that he's able to score on all 3 levels, right? I like that. I like the fact that he has that dog mentality. I don't think New York is going to be too big. The lights are going to be too bright for him. And he plays good defense. And I think under Tibbs, he's going to be a defensive demon. I just see him really, really guarding. My concern is his playmaking. But again, with better players, he may get better. I did go back and look at tape, and I saw that, there were times when he drove the lane and he was able to draw a defender and make the pass. So it's there. So I anticipate that getting better. But that's the only trade I did. Everybody else I signed was in free agency and in the draft. So if we can move to who I signed in free agency. I signed Norman Powell, Kyle Lowry, Tony Snell, Carmelo Anthony, JaVale McGee, and I brought back Taj Gibson for a little bit over the vet minimum. I signed Powell to play the 2, 4 years, $72 million. So that's about $18 million per year. He may command more than that, but I put $18 million. I brought in Kyle Lowry, I think, for just 2 years. I think that we do need that type of leadership at the point guard position. I do think we need that type of somebody who's been there before, who could play good defense, who can make the right reads, and who Randall would have to respect. You're not going to be clapping, your hands that you want the ball with Kyle Lowry. I thought we would have to overpay him, in order to get him. His stock is going up. Miami is looking at him. Other teams are looking at him. You're only going to have him for 2 years. So you're not going to get him at 15, 16 million. So that's 27 million. Tony Snell, again, to come off the bench, 3 years, 18 million. I tried to keep the salaries what I think their market value is. That might even be a little below, but that's just $6 million for Snell. Carmelo Anthony, I think that on that second team, he could play the 4 position, but I also, he could play the 4. And he can shoot for us. He can rebound, and he still has it. We're not looking for Carmelo Anthony to come in here and drop 25. I do heard people, because Carmelo was on both Josh and Tony's roster, that he's ISO. If you watch, I'm a fan of Carmelo Anthony. So when he's in Portland, I watch him in Portland. He's not that guy that just hogs the ball and dribbles, pounds the ball in, takes up all the shot clock before he shoots. He's not that guy. So he's somebody who could play within the confines of an offense and can play off of people. He closed a lot in Portland, off of Dame and off of McCollum. So I have no issues with Carmelo being a ball hog. JaVale McGee also on the second team. Taj Gibson, more situational, if there's any injuries. And the next slide, in terms of the draft, I went with Isaiah. Really? I went with Isaiah. Wow. Okay. But I'm going to amend that. I would go with Troy Murphy and Trey Mann. I would go with Trey Murphy and Trey Mann. I'm not a big advocate of the Knicks trading up. How far up are they going to be able to get? 14, 13 maybe? Are you confident that who you got at 13 is going to be better than Trey Murphy or Trey Mann? I don't think there's much separation to me after the top 3, really, top 4, really. So I would not trade up. So scratch Isaiah Jackson. That I put that there. That's probably an error. I meant Trey Murphy and Trey Mann. And now get into the team. Anyway, first of all, before we get into the team, did y'all have any questions on the trade, on the free agents, on the draft?
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. So we can move to the team. So I also did not bring back Rose, even though we can go over the cap to sign him. I like him. I like what he brought to our team. I just think if you got Lowry, you don't really need Rose. And I think even at 20 minutes a game, he could still miss time, with the injury. So for starters, I went with Lowry, Powell, and Barrett, Randall, and Mitchell Robinson. I think between Lowry and Powell, they're kind of undersized at the 1 and the 2, but I'm not concerned because both of those guys, in my opinion, have that dog mentality. They really get after it defensively, and I think they'll be able to guard people that are taller than them. I have Sexton coming off the bench behind Lowry. He may close, sometimes, Tibbs goes with whoever's playing well at the time. But on that bench, I got Sexton, Quickly, Snell, Anthony, and McGee. Just trying to get some defense in there with Jamel, with McGee and Snell. And Sexton in that second unit, but at the same time, Sexton can score, Quickly can score, Snell can hit the 3, Anthony can score, JaVale McGee off the bench. Situational would be Mendoza, Knox, Gibson, and the rookies, Trey Murphy, and Trey Mann, and still $7 million left in cap. So if we want to give, if you feel like Powell is going to command more than that, there's more money for them. If we feel like we have to go to $60 million in order to get Lowry, 2 years, $60 million. So another $3 million a year, we have the money to do that. I'm not sure what the chat is saying, but I'm sure a lot of people don't like Lowry. I have concerns about his age as well. I think when you get to 34, 35, sometimes it's just a quick decline. 1 year you have it, the next year you don't. I get it. But this is somebody that I would take a chance on for just 2 years. And I think that Sexton learning from him would be great. Playing behind him, I think it would be great. He can also play with him at times as well. this is the team that I think can still get us not championship contender, because remember, I got to see Randall for another year. I believe we can make the playoffs with this team, and not the play-in, the playoffs. So 4 through 6 with this team. Yeah.
I like his stuff. I think contrary to what the chat might feel, I think it's similar to my roster, or at least the thought pattern behind it. If I was gonna make an amendment, what was the money you spent on Snell?
I think it was $6 million, 3 years, 18 million.
Do you think with that extra salary cap, do you think we could go to 7 or even 8 and keep Bullock, or do you prefer him over Bullock? And my only reason
yeah. I mean, I would be okay with that.
It's the same thing Josh mentioned with the chemistry. So I mean, that would probably be my only amendment. But yeah, the chat is very receptive. I think the main knock is Melo, so that's a knock for all three of us.
Which I don't understand. I don't understand why.
What was the issue? What did you just say, Tony?
The main knock on all of us was basically Melo. So that was like your only thing that they're not really feeling is Melo, and it's not like it's Melo of old, Melo of the past, the money of the past. So excuse me, those are people that are just still mad about the past.
I mean, I've seen that there. I'm not sure what Melo did. I mean,
exactly.
He was under fire. He was the one that was thrown into the situation turned toxic on him. And I thought he handled himself with a lot of class during that Phil Jackson era. So I don't quite get the Melo issue. This guy can still play. If you watched him play, he can still play. So I don't get it. And I'm looking for somebody who could play with Randall and play behind Randall, and he can.
And Chef Zay is mad that Knox is still on the team. Like why?
Yeah, all right. Put him in the Obi trade. Put him in the Obi trade for Sexton, because somebody said that wouldn't be enough for Sexton. So put him in the Sexton trade.
But why are you mad that a player is still on the roster? Like that's back to the Melo hate. You know what I mean? Like, you mad because someone's on the roster without having a solution. You know what I mean? Like, you just want them gone. Like, it's addition by subtraction.
Right.
But, Obamacare Part 2. No, let me stop.
Don't do that, Josh.
Yeah. Somebody said they would tolerate my roster, but they like Jackson. I like Jackson too. I don't think he's fallen to 19, and if he does, I think the Knicks should draft him. Sexton should start over Lowry. Maybe. I mean, you could make that argument. I just like the veteran leadership out there.
And I think your window is a lot. I think it's less than 5-6 years. I think that's a 3-year window where.
Well, we don't have no superstar on that team. I think you would need. That's what I'm saying. This is just going to get us in the playoffs. We're going to see what we have in Randall. Maybe Knox grows. Maybe Quickly grows. And then that next summer, you got to. Now I'm in Josh mode in the summer of 2022. If Randall is your guy, let's not waste any time. You got to go and you got to get him an all-star or NBA type player to go with him. Period. I
agree.
I agree with you. I think Randall's that guy right now. I really do. I think the playoffs, what happened was kind of in, was not supposed to happen. And I definitely gave him a lot of flack for it myself. But at this point, the Knicks cannot just wait for another year and to figure it out again and wait for the next free agent class. Every season, it feels like
I don't think
we're doing the
waiting. We're gonna still build a team. But I just want to see it before I give up assets for him. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But I agree. You're sure now. I need another year. But I think we're on the same page that if you're sure, you got to make it happen. You got to make it happen.
I think my display has the longest window, but I also think mine has the largest room for growth. You know what I mean? Like these are guys that everybody's trajectory is up. You know what I mean? Nobody's trajectory is on the downward. You know what I mean? Tail end of their career or already in their prime or even past their prime.
Right.
So I think my window is probably 5, 6 years.
Right.
I think yours is closer to immediate than, you know what I mean, than not.
For championship?
I mean, things gotta happen regardless. You know what I mean? It's not like perennial championship.
Right.
But I think they you know what I mean, they could be in that conversation. And then Josh, obviously he went for the ring. He won a ring this he won a ring now. Which I ain't mad.
Right.
I ain't mad. Like
You know, but people
all could have went different routes. Well, yeah.
I'm just saying people have this misconception that Portland, like people are saying they don't think my trade is realistic because Portland wouldn't take it. If Portland loses Damian Lillard, they don't have any leverage right now. Portland has zero leverage. The only thing they have are 2 all-star players. One of them is a superstar player. That's what they have right now. But the thing is, they have not been winning. So that's more of an incentive to clean up their books and start over. They just hired a new coach. They don't have any first-round picks. They would be willing to give up those players just to start over and rebuild again and clean up their caps. They play in Portland. I mean, that's not a big market. They can't afford to pay that money all the time.
Right.
If there's anything to dispute, and I don't think you would have a problem with it, is maybe we needed to give up a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like for it to work. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't think you're far-fetched or off in that being in the realm of possibility. And I don't think you would mind if it took 2 more picks to make that work. I don't think you would have cared. If it took, you know,
a first-round pick and quickly, let's get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, and that I think it is realistic. 100%.
Yeah, I think so too. And just back to the Melo thing, you got to have some veterans on the team. So if you got Lowry as a veteran, you got Carmelo as a veteran, you got Taj Gibson as a veteran, that's good. I think that's good for Randall to be around. Somebody where it's not like I don't know. There's somebody he can respect. Somebody he can respect as well. And people talking about he's old, he's slow, give it to a young guy. We got a lot of young players on this roster. Quickly is young. Sexton is young. Mitch is young. There's already a lot of young players on this roster. So I think it's a good mix of young players, veterans who've been there, who know what it takes, rookies that you're developing and you're bringing along. Trey Murphy might even get in the rotation. You never know, So, I mean, I just want to say I appreciate you guys. Like somebody in the chat said, it's easy to sit there and criticize. It's very hard to put a team together within a salary cap constraints. And I would encourage all of the fans, go to fanspo.com or whatever, roster simulator you want to go to, and you put together a team for the Knicks. And when you get to them small forwards, get at me because you want to see it was slim pickings. The Knicks need a wing, and it's slim pickings in the wing. Free agency for the wings, unless you're going to trade for Wiggins or trade for another wing, or unless you're going to move RJ to 3 and sign Powell or Trent Tucker. And Trent Tucker. Wow. Wow. Gary Trent. We did get a super chat. Shout out to my big little sister, T. Bailey, for the super chat. It was earlier in the show. Appreciate you. I don't think it was a comment. It was just a super chat. And Vaughn Allen, welcome to the 2000s Knicks. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Steph, I'm gonna say one more thing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
there's people in the chat saying that Portland can get a better package than what the Knicks can offer them. And I'm telling you that's not true. Because outside of Oklahoma City, the Knicks have the most draft picks over the next 4 years. And the Knicks have the cap space to make it happen. There's no other team out there in the NBA right now that has the amount of cap space and draft picks as the New York Knicks right now. No other team. So what, a team is going to give up all of their draft picks to have Damian Lillard be the only person there? You think Oklahoma City is going to do that? Why would they sacrifice all their draft picks that they've built over the years, and they already have a young point guard and SGA? Why would they give him up to bring in Damian Lillard to be there by himself? That doesn't make sense. The Knicks have the best package available that they can offer as long as they get a third team involved. As long as that happens, that must happen. The Knicks have the best possible chance to do this, to get a third team involved. There's no other team that has more.
Josh, can you answer this question?
Mm-hmm.
Brahim, I hope I said that right, 718. I still don't know why would Golden State trade Wiggins and Wiseman for CJ?
Because CJ McCollum gets them closer to a title. He's a mid-range player who can score. He can have the ball in his hands. And they're getting Mitchell Robinson back. Mm-hmm. So Mitchell Robinson is not going to give you the same offensive production as James Wiseman. However, Mitchell Robinson can learn a lot playing next to Draymond Green. So you got a rim runner and Mitchell Robinson with Draymond Green, with Clay at the 3, CJ McCollum at the 2, and Steph Curry. That is a scary lineup. That is absolutely scary in the Western Conference. So, yes, that's the reason why they would do that trade, because they want to get better. There was a report saying that Clay, Steph, and Dre wanted the Golden State to be aggressive, going out to go get someone else, like a Bradley Beal. CJ McCollum isn't as good as Bradley Beal, but he's close. Yeah. A great mid-range player. Great.
Right.
I agree. The only thing that needed to be modified was, I think Portland needs a little bit more. But other than that, I think that could work. I think it's very realistic.
And to add with what Josh is saying to Brahim 718, you got to remember where Golden State is right now. Golden State doesn't want young players. Golden State is trying to win now. So they're thinking about, they have assets. So they're thinking about, what can the 7th, 14th, Wiggins and Wiseman get me? That's what they're thinking, to go with Clay and Steph and Draymond so that we can go after another chip. That's what Golden State is thinking about. They're not thinking about, Wiseman one day may be a better player than CJ McCollum. They're saying right now, in this short window in which we're trying to win, how can we take these young assets, these draft picks, these young players, and go out and get a veteran or somebody that can help our team right now? That's why Golden State would do that.
Totally agree, 100%.
Yeah. All right, let me just shout out the chat. Then we'll do some last words. Shout out to Ron Bleak Skadooey. Hope I said that right. May 4th, always with us. Appreciate you. Clavins Durace, appreciate you. Trust. Brick Nation. Be civilized. Yes, be civilized. JRU, appreciate you. Cooking with Chef Zay, appreciate you. And Savvy D, appreciate you as well. Somebody asked about Duarte. Duarte's stock is rising. I don't think he would be there at 19. I'm really high on him. I really like him, despite the fact he's 24 years old. But his stock is rising. I don't think he's going to be there at 19. Any last words?
As always, Queen, this was fun. I hope we can do a part 2, because I got a couple. Like I said, I got like 4 or 5 of them in the stash. And again, I really just wanted to improve. I think we all improved the team. I think we all made it to at least the 4th seed or better, or at least in my sense, 4th seed. But
right.
Yeah, this was fun. We should do this again. And I think it was Heliandro. He said he needs to go to GM school. Just go on that app, man. So, again, it's not an ad, but
right. They don't sponsor the show.
You can go in there and do your whole team, on your own. and then put it in the chat or something. We'll review yours.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, listen, it changed everything for me in terms of the players I want. Oh, we should do this, we should do that. When you go in there, you're working under the constraints of a salary cap and who's available and who you need to trade for and who you're going to give up and how much you're going to pay them. Now you more realistically can build a team. Any last words, Josh?
Totally agree. Queen Steph, Tony, it's always a pleasure. I think this was very, very productive. This was a very, very productive experiment, and I'm thankful that I got a chance to look at this website to actually construct a team. I know I talk a lot about going to get this player, going to get that player, but when it comes down to that money, you got to be real strategic in how you do it. And right. I think all three of us, we took some time to do that and try to understand what's going on in these front offices of the NBA. So it's always a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to talking and discussing more Knicks basketball with you guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I think the next time the show is on the next Monday, we will have known who the Knicks are drafting. And let me see. Free agency will have started because you can start negotiating August 2nd. So by the time we come on at 8 o'clock, whoever is with me, we'll have some juicy rumors to talk about because I think the Knicks are going to strike on the first day. Basically. So yeah, appreciate everybody. If you get an opportunity, again, get those VIP tickets for the NBA draft party in Atlantic City this Thursday, right? Peace, family.
Peace. Stay tuned for Nothing But Knicks.
Yes, Nothing But Knicks right after, right? 10:30. Triple header. Yes, we're gonna do mock drafts, actually. So that should be fun.